And hello everyone, and welcome to what will hopefully be the first installment in what I am calling the Consumer Report, where I talk to the guys on YouTube in the comic book community and try to get at their concerns and, just give a microphone to the people who actually buy these books. And with me today is Weaponized Nerd Rage. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Well, it's 9:50 p.m. out in Washington. It's cold, and last night I had the pleasure of watching a C5 jet fly through the mist. It's kind of eerie.
That's okay. Some Silent Hill type shit on your end, then.
It's Washington. There's mist. Fog is kind of a common thing out here. Yeah.
Not so much down here. We just have rain and snakes and spiders and
we have rain
and humidity and crippling heat. Yeah, not much we can do about that.
Yeah. All right, so how about we let the people listening get to know you first?
All right, well, what do you want to know?
Okay,
just a brief overview,
and I guess talk about how long you've been to comics and just basically your whole history with it. That stuff.
Well, pretty much I got into comics when I was what actually got me into them was when I was like 7-8 years old, I think. I discovered the Turok comics, and I gobbled those up, and to me it was like that was the first comic book I'd ever seen. That was the first comic book that I even knew about. And because before that point, I was, just my primary form of entertainment was television. Watching the old black and white Zorro TV serial and such like that. But then shortly after I found Turok, my mother was like, "Oh, he likes comic books. I found a comic book and bring it to him." And it was Spawn. Which I always say is the worst comic book you want to hand a 7-year-old kid is Spawn. And so from there on, I developed this love of these comic books, with buying up every issue of Turok I could find. I've got maybe that fucking truck. I've got maybe a third of them because I just don't like buying comics online. I've only recently gotten over that phobia of buying comics online. Amassing a Spawn collection, Hellboy. But it wasn't until, middle school that I really got into the big two, and started reading, Batman where I could, X-Men here and there. Spider-Man was my big one. But then also, just bits and pieces of books here and there, and just started amassing a collection. Like, this guy's got issue 36 of, Spider-Man on sale. Let me just buy that. Okay, I've got that. Avengers 47 or whatever. I've got that. We grab that. So I wasn't the kind of guy who was, I have to buy the whole string at once. I was just kind of buying comics where I could. But I was never really one of those guys who's like, it's DC or it's Marvel, and I'm only Marvel. I just wasn't big on DC, a lot of DC's characters, which is why I'm not very versed on DC. Like a lot of people, I basically just like Batman a lot. And would read the trade paperbacks for Batman when they came out. But mostly it was Marvel and indies. And I've been, starting to finally dabble into, true indies, like people who are coming up and self-publishing and all that stuff now. I've been doing a lot of promotion where I can for this indie series, Rags. I know the creator. He's a really great guy. So plug, go buy Rags.
There's a guy I'll have to talk to sometime.
Oh, he's a hell of a guy.
I bet he is.
But yeah, and then I started getting into all this stuff that's going on now, and I'm like, I see the, let's just call it the events that are unfolding right now, and I started really getting hardcore wrapped up into it, and I'm like, you know what? Screw sitting on the sidelines. I'm gonna throw my profanity-laden rants out into the internet and see what sticks.
Fucking A.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Was it like any one tipping point for you, or was it just sort of like a series of things happening?
It was a slow burn, all right. And because it started, I first started seeing these people, the social justice warrior types cropping up a long time ago, and part of me was like trying to trace the origin points of social justice warriors to hipsters.
Which as someone who resides in Washington, I apologize that we inflicted those people onto the rest of the world.
It's not all you guys. Portland, Oregon's got a lot of them.
Yeah, it's mainly the Pacific Northwest, though. But yeah, you're not wrong. Portland's got tons of them, but boy, you want to just go up to Seattle sometime. You'll see a bunch of really bad beards, tacky piercings, tattoos, and multicolored hair.
It disturbs me because beard's a bad name.
I know.
But like then Gamergate kicked in, and that was something that I'm kind of just like, wow, this is a mess. Because I found out about it pretty late. So I'm kind of just like, okay, I have no way of getting involved in this. I'm just going to sit here and watch this, fire burn and learn from it what I can. Because this is not going to be a one and done thing. This is going to come around. And then, all this stuff with comics started happening. I like to try to avoid a label with it as much as I can, where I can. But sometimes I have to use the damn label because so people just know what the hell I'm talking about. But as far as like was there a specific tipping point with it? I don't know, because it was kind of just a lot of straws packed on really quick. But I think really what did it was Dan Slott. He was the one who got me like, okay, this shit has got to stop. Because how he acts online and everything, it's just disgusting. And he got all the worse after the Make Mine Milkshake incident.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was a bit of a it was a thing. That's all I got for that. It was a thing.
I mean, I'm thinking like Heather Antos, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, I'll just take this selfie with my friends getting milkshakes. It'll be a totally innocuous thing, and I'm thinking that's how she intended it. I'm just wondering like how did it balloon into this much worse thing?
There's a lot to that incident than originally everybody believed, and it's just none of it looks good. The more you look at it, none of it looks good. But I mean, yeah, I think that was really the point where I'm like, okay, screw all this mess.
Yeah. So now basically you're out on YouTube trying to fight the good fight, as it were.
Yeah, pretty much. Point out, because one of the things that really got me is, I grew up in a part of town, that could have been considered the projects. Like my formative years were in, those lower income places. So, we never saw like race. We didn't see it as anything that was important. We're just like, okay, they're a different color. Who cares? But that didn't make us, we still understood, yeah, these people face this problem. These people face that problem. But then I saw what Marvel was doing, and I'm like, this is racist as hell. The crap they're doing.
Like anything specific?
Yeah, I got the specifics. They want to talk about how objectification, okay, of the women in comics. And yet, meanwhile, they have Gabby Rivera basically writing a wank fest, her own personal wank fest with America. And, there's been a lot of memes parodying it. But then, the stuff that they were doing with Captain America and Sam Wilson, I'm like, okay, Sam Wilson was the first African-American superhero in Marvel Comics, not Black Panther. Okay.
Really?
Well, because here's the thing. We've all been saying this. What part of T'Challa is American? He's African. He's not African American.
Okay. So if you're talking first black superhero, different story.
Yeah, it's one of those little differences that these people don't understand that is kind of annoying to a lot of black folks. Like, no, I'm not African American. I'm fucking Haitian.
I
Get
would
your
have
shit
me,
right.
me. I would have figured the first African American superhero in Marvel was Luke Cage.
It was close because it was like 1 year this guy, 1 year this guy, 1 year this guy, 1 year this guy. I think like Storm and Misty Knight were like a couple of months apart, so they give you kind of the because I think it was Misty Knight was in mid 1972 and Storm was either late 1972, early 1973. I might be wrong on a lot of those numbers. But like to get back to the earlier example, like what they were doing with Sam Wilson, Captain America, like they took their own identity from him and basically said, well, he's only really going to be important if he's taking a role that was already established by a white dude. And I'm like, come on. But then they had Black Panther and the Crew, which was this pro-segregation propaganda that was basically black supremacy, anti-Asian, anti-Hispanic, anti-white. If you ever read it, it's horrible. It's a terrible book. And there's a lot of hate in that book. But no, like those are just like three examples of, that they want to say they're progressives and whatnot, but they're really a lot more racist than the people that they claim to be fighting. And it's this hypocrisy that, in my opinion, needs to be exposed because, have you ever heard the phrase like trophyism?
I think I have an idea of what you're getting at. Like you have is it kind of similar to like the token black guy?
Yeah, is they claim diversity, but all it is token inclusivity, and placing people up on an altar and wanting to just show them off to show, look how diverse we are, as opposed to actually giving a damn and being accepting of other people. That's all they care about, is using these other people to push a narrative, as opposed to actually treating them like other people. Marvel talks about how inclusive and diverse they are, but they have like I think it's 3 black writers. The company is still like 95% white people, but they talk about how diverse they are.
Oh yeah, I bet it even breaks down even more if you try and dig up how many of those white people are actually Jews.
Yeah, because then it would at least paint a bit of a different picture. Like, okay, because they want to consider Jews a minority. But yeah, no, I mean, it's really weird. Like a lot of what they're doing is just it defies logic and reason and expectation in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but yeah, I see what you're getting at. I remember I came across an article that you shared on Twitter about how, whether we like it or not, DC and Marvel are more or less the health of the industry. Where they're going, the rest of the industry is more or less going to follow, for better and for worse.
Yeah, and we're seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, on the one hand, what I am kind of encouraged at is that Marvel has ended up setting the bar so low, it's actually a market that indie people can compete in.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that a couple of us have been talking about is that this is the prime market for independent developers to come in and swing and hit a pretty damn good ball, because people are so tired of this hyper preachy propaganda that is being passed off as a comic book. A lot of people are like, okay, look, I don't care about the characters anymore. I don't care about that I have to read Captain America, that I have to read Venom. I just want to read a comic book at this point. And normally a lot of people who were subscribed to the big two turned their noses up at indie comics just purely because they weren't the big two, or because they just didn't know that indie comics existed in the way they do. So given the fact that there's this market out there now there is a demand that's not being met, and there are people out there who can meet that demand, and they're starting to come in and hit on that. I mean, you've seen the successes of Patriotica.
Yeah,
And
I know about Patriotica. Really, about the only thing that gives me pause is that I know for a fact that the indie creators, they're not going to have like the same coffers of resources to pull from when it comes to advertising. Like they are pretty
yeah,
much going to have to rely on word of mouth exclusively.
yeah, and that's what always in my mind been the downfall of independent comics is they don't have the resources and revenue to get widespread distribution like Marvel and such would. But the beauty of the internet now
Yeah, no.
is that a lot of them can go to places like Comixology and Indie Planet and put their books out.
Yeah, I mean, like there's, yeah, I mean that's a little more encouraging than it would have been, say, back in the '90s. But
Oh God, yeah.
but still, I mean, like the fact of the matter is that Marvel and DC still have more resources to draw on and really have more. They have better advertising, arguably.
And the funny part is the only one I see advertising is DC. Marvel isn't advertising worth a damn as far as the comic books go.
Well, they pretty much seem to be relying on the movies to act as glorified ads for the books.
And the fact that they think everybody knows Marvel is a brand now, and it just because it's kind of Marvel Comics has kind of hit that Coca-Cola point, okay, where everybody knows what it is, everybody knows it's a product, but some people go Pepsi instead, or some people just buy a Coke. They're an American brand. They are not even American. They're an international brand. So they probably thought, well, we don't have to advertise. But the fact of the matter is they're seeing right now, okay, we do have to be advertising because a lot of people don't know there's actually good books at Marvel right now. Because all they're talking about on social media, which seems to be the bulk of their advertisement, is politics, and not even in politics that are in relation to the book.
Yeah. Well, speaking of politics, I mean, like you're part of a community that is roasting Marvel and DC to a lesser extent for these unwanted progressive politics, and rightly so. But there's also kind of a case of the pendulum swinging in the other direction with Vox Day's alt hero, which I saw you made a video not exactly saying the highest of praises.
That's understatement of the year.
Yeah.
My problem with it is that this community was founded on basically the principle, one of many principles, because I don't want to speak in specific terms here or try to speak for anybody, but a lot of the argument was we don't want identity politics in books. We don't want propaganda in books. We don't want politics in books. We want escapism when we pick up a comic book. And alt hero is literally all of that just for the right-wing flavor. I mean, if you say you don't want identity politics in the book and then you go and support alt hero, which from the trailer seems to be identity politics fueled, and knowing what Vox Day is interested in, I think it's contradictory to say that you don't want identity politics in Marvel, but then you want to go buy alt hero. Now, there is a very good argument against that, and I will admit I was not kind of prepared for this argument, but it was effectively that the entertainment is run by liberals, Democrats, and left. Okay, and so to have that conservative, right, Republican representation in media was important, because then that's how you expose people to these ideas, to the other side of the political spectrum. And Hollywood is dominated by this stuff to the point where actors are afraid to come out about being a Republican and will, just spout whatever they're told and, toe the party line because they're afraid of losing their job. Very recently, Tim Allen, for example, lost a show that he was, kind of a passion project for him because it was right wing and conservative leaning. They shut the show down. Clint Eastwood, for example, nobody's going to give him money if he wants to go to a studio because of, ever since the situation with him talking to the chair as if it was Obama. So, yeah, I can understand the point that it's important. And some people don't mind the politics in the book. Some people don't mind the identity politics. But in my mind, you can't say I don't want identity politics in Marvel and then go and say alt hero is okay when it is identity politics. It's you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad argument. I mean, I kind of like the idea of what Vox Day is doing, just because it gets it gets the hackles of the left up, and I love seeing that. But the only problem I've seen with Alt Hero, at least in my opinion, is just being too on the nose with it.
Yeah, it's too much too quickly. And that's another part of the argument is that a lot of the stuff that's coming out is too ham-fisted. I've used the analogy before that it's no longer ham-fisted. They're wearing the pig as a boxing glove. Okay, and Alt Hero right out the bat is ham-fisted. You can tell it's what it's talking about. And part of their tagline was stories, not politics. Your trailer shows otherwise.
Yeah. Like I said, its worst crime is just being too on the nose for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, with all that said, I mean, like, you do seem to be of the camp that the things are looking a bit more hopeful.
I'm trying to stay optimistic. I'm one of the few people apparently who think that Marvel can still be saved, and I think a lot there's just a couple of changes that need to happen, and it's mostly people who are in power that need to change, because and I've got this kind of tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that I kind of talk about in my Dan Slott versus the Skrulls videos. That there's a lot of writers at Marvel who are afraid to speak up about their own politics because they see what Marvel is now. They see how politically charged it is, and they think, oh God, if I let them know that I voted for Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, or anybody but Hillary, I will lose my job, and I love this job. And there's a lot of times where the people are writing these, politically charged books where it feels incredibly forced. And the big example here, maybe you know what I'm talking about, is Brian Michael Bendis with Invincible Iron Man. Mm-hmm. Riri just seems like a character that it doesn't feel like it's coming from a writer who's very interested in the story and is writing it for other reasons.
From what I remember about Brian Michael Bendis was that he was always kind of neutral when it came to politics, or at least he knew enough to keep them out of the story.
Yeah, because he knows what this is. This is an entertainment medium, and we want to escape. We want to forget about everything that's going on in the world. And right now, more than ever, if these people are this stressed about the political climate in America and what's going on in America, why do they then want to have it in their hobby? Why even everybody, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on, stepping away from it is good every once in a while to refresh yourself,
Yeah, I mean, you can't think about politics all the time. There's more to life than that.
You'll drive yourself crazy.
I know.
You'll kill yourself.
It's like staring into Cthulhu's maw.
Yeah, you turn into a gibbering madman just going
But yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of of the same camp too. I want to be hopeful for the indies. In fact, I've actually promoted an indie book on my channel too by a guy named Sam Webster. He made a science fiction book called Unfamiliar Skies, which I actually think has a lot of potential to be really good.
Good. You'll have to send a link to it my way, and if I like it, I'll plug the hell out of it.
Oh yeah, I will. But you know what? While we're still on that, is there anything that's being printed right now, indie or big two, doesn't matter, that you would encourage people to go pick up?
Okay, because we don't talk a lot about what's good at Marvel, and I've already plugged Rags, but I do want to talk about how there are good books at Marvel, and two of them are unfortunately finished stories, but one of them is picking up apparently for a sequel. A controversial pick here is Infamous Iron Man, done by Brian Michael Bendis. It's a redemption story for Doctor Doom, but it's also kind of a love letter to the character of Victor Von Doom. And it's The artwork fluctuates from good to phoned in, but it's a damn solid story with zero politics, zero propaganda. It focuses entirely on the characters that are involved, which are, Doctor Strange, Ben Grimm, and and at one point Johnny Storm. There's also the Thanos series that we just had. It was a 12-part series about Thanos being made mortal and having to reclaim his, near god status in a conflict with his son Thane. And again, very good book. No politics, no propaganda, just a solid story about Thanos in a position we've never seen him before. U.S. Avengers is a decent book. It's a fun book, but sometimes it gets really damn good. Like Secret Empire, there was nothing good about Secret Empire except for the U.S. Avengers tie. And plus, it brought back Warlock at one point in the story, which, is great because Warlock's one of those characters who needs attention but hasn't been getting it. There's also the first part, like the first half of Spider-Man and Deadpool was very good when they're dealing with the villain Itsy Bitsy. Very good book. Lately, it's been a total snooze fest. But also, there was Unworthy Thor, done by Jason Aaron. Another really good book, which finally reveals what Nick Fury whispered in Thor's ear. And while I don't agree with them and the reasoning behind it, it's a solid story. There's a couple of other series. I'm in the minority with this, but I actually think the new Deadpool stuff is pretty good. I really like the family dynamic that they touched on a little bit with him. There was a new take on the character, but also they toned down the comedy in the book quite a bit. And that was something that I very much appreciated. Of course, we have Astonishing X-Men from Charles Soule. That's been good. The art's been really hit and miss, though. But the story is very interesting. It sucks you in. There's a mystery there, and you want to know what's going on. There's a couple of other books of the Generations line. Did you read any of the Generations stuff?
Yeah, I haven't had time to.
Generations of the Spiders was a very good book. I know a lot of people panned it because there was no action or whatever, but it was actually a solid book. But I mean, there's definitely books out there at Marvel that are good. It's just, you've got to get, Black Bolt was another good book. The first 6 issues with the first storyline, incredible story. It was. It's unfortunate that the writer is such a piece of shit. But he does turn out a damn good story. I got to give that to him.
So anything maybe from the indie scene besides
honestly,
Rex?
Oh man, I heard Spawn is picking up again in terms of quality. So I'm definitely gonna be checking out Spawn again soon. Mike Mignola has 3 new stories coming out. One about Rasputin, one about Koshi the Deathless, and one about Hellboy versus the Krampus, however you pronounce it. So anything with Mignola's name on it is good. Okay, I mean, the man is yet to disappoint me.
That's encouraging, certainly.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's some older books as well. Is because I was always pretty much like an older comics person, so a lot of the new age indies was kind of something that I fell off with. But like I said, there's another book. I don't know if this is actually being published yet or not. Let me find it. Somebody sent me the PDF of it. Because it's a work in progress, I think. It's called Rundown. It's about like demonic werewolves and shit. But what I read of it was very good. It's just, I gotta wait and see if it's actually gonna try and go for a release and sell itself, or if it's just a fan project that gets thrown around. But I've heard Manowar from Valiant is really picking up and being a very damn good book. But also from DC, I mean, everything going on with Metal is great. There's only been like 1 or 2 low points in it. And most recently, Tom King's run on Batman and Mr. Miracle are also very good. A lot of what's going on at DC right now is very good.
Yeah, great. Oh, good. That's great. So, of course, with all that said, it's been like, I mean, like I said, that's things are. I mean, things look grim, but I guess the old cliche holds true. Always lights, night's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen rises and falls in quality before, but I don't think we ever really had a dip in quality this hard. I mean, even, the Liefeld stuff wasn't this bad.
Wow, that is saying something.
Yeah. At least Liefeld could give a decent story.
Decent-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, check out the books that Weaponized Nerd Rage just listed off. You got anything besides your YouTube channel and Rags you want to plug, Rage?
Not just my YouTube channel and Twitter, really. I'm trying to get a lot more indie books, from independent developers thrown my way. But it's slow and steady, and I've only got about 2 or 3 that were sent my way. I've still got to check out a third one that I haven't gotten to yet. I've got to find the link for it again. I only checked it out once. But I want to start digging more into a lot of this stuff. Oh, that was another one. The Witcher books. There was a series of Witcher comics done by Dark Horse. Amazing books. I read the second one. I'm still trying to track down the first one and the third one, but the second, the one, House of Glass, was phenomenal. So if you're a fan of The Witcher, definitely check that out.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. Well, okay, I think we've taken this as far as we can. Thanks for coming on Rage.
Yeah, it was good to be around, and let me know if you ever want to do one of these, because we do a ton of live streams with, Anglantine and I Love Comics and all the other YouTubers. We're always inviting people on, so if you want to swing around, just let me know, and we'll swing you in.
Thanks.